I'm going to explain how to approach teaching older adults thoughtfully, what actually changes as our bodies age that affects the yoga practice, and what modifications and considerations matter most. I will cover the physical changes that happen with aging, what your older students are dealing with beyond just the physical, and specific teaching strategies that make your classes accessible and empowering for this population. Let's start with what actually changes as our bodies age, because understanding this helps you make thoughtful teaching choices. First, their range of motion likely decreases because their connective tissue becomes less elastic. Their joints may have less available range of motion, and they may be experiencing chronic pain or still in injury recovery. This doesn't mean that your older students can't practice yoga. It means teaching them modifications becomes essential as intelligent adaptations. Second, their strength and muscle mass tends to decrease with age, particularly if they have been sedentary. This can affect their balance, stability, and the ability to get up and down from the floor. However, we can help them build strength at any age. The adaptations might happen more slowly, but they do happen. Third, bone density often decreases, particularly in postmenopausal women. Osteopenia and osteoporosis are common, which means their bones are more fragile. And this affects certain types of movement, particularly deep spinal flexion and twisting. Fourth, their ability to balance changes. The vestibular system, vision, and proprioception all decline somewhat with age, which affects balance and increases fall risk. This makes balance work valuable, but you need to approach it thoughtfully and with appropriate support. And fifth, their recovery time increases. If an older adult overdoes it in class, they might be sore for days, but this doesn't mean that they shouldn't challenge themselves. It means how they pace themselves really does matter. Now, beyond the physical changes, here's what your older students are actually dealing with. Some are managing chronic pain from arthritis or old injuries. For these students, yoga isn't about pushing through pain, it's about finding ways to move that feel like they can do it long term and give them tools for managing discomfort. Others are dealing with the fear of injury or fear of falling. They maybe had a fall before or watched a friend of theirs have a serious fall. And that fear makes them feel protective, but it can also limit them from moving more as well. Your job as their teacher is to create environments where they feel safe enough to challenge themselves while also respecting their fear as a valid one. Some students are worried about losing their independence, being able to get down to the floor and get back up, and being able to reach overhead, being able to maintain balance. These aren't just movements that are nice to have, these are movements that we need. They're directly tied to whether someone can live independently or not. Some of these students are experiencing social isolation, whether it's retirement, loss of friends or partners, mobility limitations. All of these contribute to social isolation. But your yoga class can be a crucial source of community and connection. So, how do you actually approach teaching older adults? Well, first, you should recognize that their age tells you almost nothing about what they can or they cannot do. I've taught 70-year-olds who can do poses that a 50-year-old can't. So don't make assumptions. Get to know them as individuals. Second, use language that's respectful and empowering, not patronizing. Don't talk to older adults like they're children. And also be thoughtful about terms like seniors, because some older adults don't really identify with those labels. Third, prioritize function over form. For older adults, the goal is often not achieving a particular shape, it's maintaining the ability to do things that matter in their daily life. Can I get down to the floor and play with my grandkids? Can I reach overhead and get that casserole dish for cooking this evening's dinner? Can I walk without losing my balance? Fourth, try to build in more time for transitions and rest in your classes. Older adults often move more slowly, and that's okay. Don't rush through your sequences. Give them time to transition from standing to the floor and back up if needed. Fifth, offer modifications as equal options, not as a lesser version of a pose. Instead of saying, if you're unable to do the full version, present all variations as valid choices. You could say you might choose to extend your leg fully, and others might choose to keep a slight bend in the knee, and both are excellent options. And six, incorporate plenty of props, blocks, blankets, bolsters, chairs, walls. Props aren't just for students who need help. They're tools that make poses more accessible and often more effective. All right, now let me give you some specific modifications for some situations that might arise in your classes. For students who have difficulty getting to the floor, chair yoga is incredibly valuable. You can teach an entire practice using a chair for seated poses and standing poses with the chair for balance support. Chair yoga is a different format that serves specific needs. For limited shoulder range of motion, overhead arm positions might not be accessible. Shoulder range can vary dramatically from one older adult to another. One person might have had rotator cuff surgery while another might have arthritis. So, when teaching poses with arms overhead, offer multiple variations. You can teach them to have their arms overhead if that's accessible, come to shoulder height in a goalpost position, reach forward at shoulder height, or rest their hands together to touch at heart center, or stay alongside the body. And you can teach all of these options and know that there's still work happening in other areas of the body, regardless of their arm positions. For balance concerns, always provide support options. Standing poses can be done near a wall or with a chair. Balance poses can be done holding support. The point isn't achieving freestanding balance, the point is challenging the balance system appropriately with adequate support. For students with osteoporosis or osteopenia, be cautious with deep spinal flexion and loaded twisting. This means modifying forward folds to maintain length in the spine rather than rounding it deeply, and offering a less intense rotation in the spine. So here's what older adults really need from you. They don't need you to feel sorry for them. They need you to see them as a whole person with both capabilities and limitations. They need classes where modifications are normalized and props are abundant so that they can participate fully without feeling less than. They need you to understand that function matters more than form. They need you to create a community where they feel connected with other students. And they need you to approach teaching them with the same care and high standards that you'd bring to teaching any population. Not a watered down yoga practice, but appropriately adapted yoga for their needs. If you want to develop more skill in teaching older adults or students with different needs, I have two resources that can help. First is my Teaching Students with Injuries mentorship, and it gives you 6 months of support with 2 calls per month where we work through real students that you're teaching across all ages and abilities. You can learn more in the description that I'll link below. Second, if you're thinking about creating specialized classes or workshops for older adults, my Designing Transformative Workshops course walks you through how to create workshops for specific populations. That link is also in the description below. Teaching older students isn't about watering down your teaching, it's about adapting thoughtfully to serve the entirety of the students in this stage of life. You have so much to offer this population, so let's bring your skills to life. If this was helpful, subscribe for more conversations on teaching students with injuries, and have a look at my other videos that will help you understand that teaching older students and students with injuries is, in fact, part of your job.